Welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch.
All right. So this was I asked us to do this one, and
I have no idea what the topic is
you
be.
have no idea
What
what
it's
the
going to be.
topic is going to be. Um, the topic that I'm going to say obligation is the topic,
Okay.
but I think it's going to evolve into something else. So tonight Sunday nights we have for the last 6 months or a year gone to a meditation group, and and tonight I came out and asked you if you wanted if you were ready to
It's
go.
like, hey, it's time to go.
Yeah,
Go to the thing.
go
Do
to
the
the thing.
thing.
And you said that you didn't want to go,
Yeah.
and that brought a lot of big feelings to the surface. And one of the things that I have noticed, or one of the fears that I think has come up, and one of the things that I am getting to notice and be aware of in terms of polyamorous relationships, is maybe there's this part of me that feels like I have less control. And maybe I never had control, but I wonder at times, like, that if um, if there weren't the possibility of you dating somebody else, would you um, still want to do more of the things that I wanted to do because you were wanted to make me happy?
Okay.
Does that make sense? The way I'm saying it?
Um. So was I going to refuge recovery because I was trying to impress you?
Something
And
like
if
that.
there was a different woman in my life, would I do more things with her because I'm trying to impress her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But but how that ties back to, I don't know. Maybe obligation isn't the topic that I'm thinking of tonight, but it's
Hmm.
this, like, I have these moments when I'm like, well, is in my dating somebody else, does that cause you to feel less of a need to keep me happy?
Yeah, it does. We were talking about this the other day. Well, okay. Well, let me retract that. Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay.
We might have to investigate this a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind
Um,
of why I was thinking it was a good topic.
okay, it is a good topic. Uh, the other day we were talking about travel, and I'm not a travel guy. I don't really care. To me, it's all the same people, dirt, and trees. Wherever we go, it's the same thing. I don't really care. Um, but you and T seem like you're in
Yeah.
line for some
Yeah.
travelings. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to do it.
Now you don't have to do it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like um, that would seem to kind of play into this too. Because I think if I went traveling, I might enjoy it, but I would want to go to like Sweden in the mountains, right? And that's pretty much it.
Sweden, I did not know that you'd want to go to Sweden in the
Maybe.
mountains.
I mean, there's
Okay.
there. I saw pictures and imagery about with a hot tub that looked pretty cool,
Yeah.
right? But all I'm gonna do is just kind of hang out and look at the mountains and
Yeah.
breathe the fresh air, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I'm not probably not gonna go exploring. Like I don't
Okay.
really care.
Okay.
It's like look at the mountains and they're green.
Yeah.
Cool. Stay here for a week.
Okay. All right.
But so now it's like, well, you can go do that with somebody else. So if we traveled, it would be like you're kind of dragging me along, and I'm just doing this because we're married and that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Kind of like an obligation,
Yeah.
right? So now that you have someone else to do that, it's like, well, you two can go do that,
Yeah.
and I don't have to feel obligated to do it anymore.
Okay. So okay. So that's
so,
that. So
so I don't know if
obligation.
that answers your question,
It
but
does. I think so. When you didn't want to go tonight, I had a lot of big feelings that came up around that.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have cried a little bit. And what happened was I extrapolated that into a whole lot of things of, oh my God, we don't have anything that we do together. We don't have any of these things, we don't have anything that we do together. We don't, this thing that we've been doing together that I really enjoyed. I thought you were enjoying. Um,
Yeah. You're
and
talking about refuge.
yeah,
I'm freaking out because
Fierce Hearts, but yeah.
Fierce Hearts, yeah, sorry. I'm freaking out because I just realized we forgot to feed the dog.
Oh yeah,
It's
we
okay.
could pause it.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
She'll live.
Yeah.
She's doing zoomies around the house.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had this thing that we're doing, Fierce Hearts.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
At least we didn't today. Because I have some hang-ups, or I don't know.
Yeah.
We went to this church thing. I felt the church thing this morning.
Yeah.
I really like going there. I don't like going to Fierce Hearts.
Okay.
I have this thing about participating in some of these groups. Like, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I just want to go there, hear a message, and then leave.
Got it.
That's probably very selfish. I'm not participating. I don't want to participate.
Okay.
Especially in some of these groups.
Okay.
Just not my vibe, man.
Yeah.
So I was kind of feeling like I don't want to go.
Yeah. That makes.
Sorry, I kind of trailed out. Did that have anything to do with what you just said?
We have a dog freaking out over here.
It was very cute.
So I think I think where my fear came in is that going to Fierce Hearts is something that's been really important to me for about 5 years, and it's something that I get. It helps me ground. It helps me stay centered, and I really liked that you were coming, and because it was time that we got to spend together, and even if we were like just sitting there quietly, it was time like we were just.
Well, it's a shared activity.
Yeah,
right. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's a shared activity, and so like we have limited time to spend together, and so so it scared me of like, am I going to have to choose between this thing that's been very important to me in my life, and doing stuff with you, and
okay,
and recognizing that I don't want you to go feeling like you have an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you got a little smirk there on your face, so I'm wondering what that's about.
We did go do a shared activity this morning.
We did.
And we've done a lot of shared activities on the weekend.
Yeah.
And we're starting to do acro yoga.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So when things are of a heightened emotional nature with you, there's usually something behind it, something more than you're telling. Like, you're worried about us spending time together, but we did spend a lot of time together. And we're doing this.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Is it that? I know you've said in the past that you worry about my spiritual health.
Yeah, that's
and
that
this
too.
is part of spiritual health.
Yeah, there's that too.
Okay.
I think there's also a fear that a deep sense of sadness and fear that we have, that the way we look at things is like so different that it can't be reconciled, and that's a fear that it's like, I think that's a fairly unfounded fear, but
with your history,
how
there's
so?
a lot of divorces in your childhood.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I assume that was because people's view of reality was so different that they couldn't align, and they divorced.
Yeah.
So is there an element
possibly
of that comes up, like we're going to drift apart, and it's going to be your fault?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's
why wouldn't it be my fault? Why does it always have to be your fault?
Because I'm the center of the universe. And it's always my fault.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
And it's always my fault.
So it'd be your fault to you and my fault to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just gotta say I'm digging this shirt. He bought me this shirt yesterday.
And the pants.
And the pants. They're
Mhm.
comfy.
Mm. Yep. Forgot to put a Fendibian on.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
So,
There's
so me not going to Fierce Hearts means we're gonna get a divorce.
like that's where my brain will go.
Yeah. Well, see, it's funny.
And the same thing
It's
happens.
not funny.
You know, the same thing happens with T. Something happens with him, and the first answer, my first response is, that means we're gonna break up and stay in the relationship.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So that's some pretty dramatic thinking there. What?
I know.
There's a term for that, isn't there?
It tends to come from uh, my black and white thinking. That
Did you feel rejected
I
today
did.
when I said no?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did feel a sense of rejection, and
I almost went because I felt guilty.
right, and I'm glad that you didn't,
Yeah.
because
me
that
too.
wouldn't have.
I got so much housework done too. That was like my. It's kind of spiritual in a sense. Like I got all the dishes done. I got a bunch of cleaning done. It felt really good.
Good.
Yeah.
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 I
You got to come home to a clean house.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
no, yeah, I did feel a sense of rejection, and um, you know that, and I think in the past I would have made myself wrong for feeling that.
Oh, interesting.
And tonight I just tried really hard to hold it gently. And
I saw something on, I don't know where I saw it, but it was a Jordan Peterson thing that said, "A good friend is somebody who won't interfere with your suffering." And I feel like we did a little bit of that.
yeah,
I didn't interfere with your suffering.
right.
I wonder how many people out there hear that and say, "Brian is a terrible husband. That is just a bad thing." And Jordan Peterson, how dare you invoke that?
Yeah.
No, like
yeah.
you just get it's holding space
Yeah.
for you.
It's I mean that's what
Whatever you want to call it.
empathy is, sitting with somebody in their suffering.
Yeah.
And
Not
you
getting
didn't
sucked into
necessarily
it.
you didn't necessarily sit with me in my suffering, but you did.
I was laying on the floor. Does that count?
Well, and you did sit
Stretching
with
out.
me in the in my you did sit with me when I cried because I was reading a little bit out of that book,
Mm-hmm.
and having a lot of those feelings come up. To tie this back to the obligation, had you gone out of guilt, out of a sense of obligation, I think that you would have probably had a resentment, possibly.
Itty bitty tiny one.
Yeah.
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 Can you say that about resentments? Can we ever have small resentments? They're like resentments.
Right. And there's something in the spiritual growth of there are at times where I start to doubt, where I start to go, oh my God, what have I done by opening up our relationship? I don't have as much control. Not that I ever did have control, but there's less of a sense of control. It's like, because I have, you said, because I have someone else in my life, you don't necessarily feel like you have to do certain things. And that might cause us to grow apart at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of like I would directly correlate that to being my fault, but at the same time, because there's somebody else in my life, each day I get to make the choice, and I think you get to make the choice that we be in this relationship together. Instead of it, it's like, instead of it just being something that we do because we're married, each day we're making a choice of, I want to be with this person. I want this person in my life. I want to make time for this person. Does that make sense?
Okay, what does the control have to do with that? Am I missing that?
it's it's an illusion of control.
Well, all control is an
Right.
illusion. But like,
So
okay, I understand the part about choosing to be in a relationship. Um, but what does that have to do with the control thing?
the control thing is that if I didn't have someone else in my life, I would have more of an illusion of control. If I didn't have someone else in my life and there wasn't a possibility of you dating somebody else, then there would be more of a sense of feeling in control, because even though it would be an illusion, I understand that it would be an illusion. You would, there wouldn't be a possibility of you going off and falling in love with somebody else.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
yeah, does that make sense?
Well, I'm not grokking it.
You're not grokking it? Okay.
No. I don't know what the control thing is.
Um, maybe it's
I'm often dense.
maybe it's a sense of feeling. It's not. Maybe control is the wrong word, and maybe it's secure, feeling a sense of security.
Anti-fragile?
Um, no, this is really good because I'm confused. I'm because when you're in a monogamous relationship, especially a married one, if you are, you can get into patterns, and you do things simply out of, well, I'm married, that's what I'm supposed to do. And that can create a false sense of security if you are not two people who are um, present and conscious about the relationship that you're in. Then you do things out of, well, I'm married, so I'm going to make this sacrifice for my partner because I'm married and that's what I'm supposed to do.
And then often you end up getting resentments.
Right. Well, but you can also feel like you have more control in that situation. Like you can feel like
Okay,
there's
is that
more
like
control.
expectations?
Yeah, maybe.
Almost like obligations in
Yeah.
a sense. Like, um, I expect that you're not going to flirt with someone else.
Right.
And I'm not going to do the same thing, even though it seems like that's the predominance of marriage these days.
Right.
I'm going to have a monogamous or poly relationship. I'm just not going to tell you about it.
Right. Yeah.
Or what is
what's your
Esther?
joke? What's your joke that you were telling the other day? What's the difference between?
What's the difference between an affair and a poly relationship? Oh, I asked my wife. This is the joke. I asked my wife, "What's the difference between a poly relationship and a affair?" And her boyfriend said,
Communication.
"Communication." That was so funny.
Yes, that's a good one.
Um, yeah. Okay, I can kind of understand what you're saying. Then there. So control seems like it's synonymous with safety in this sense.
Yeah.
So control and safety. So
Yeah.
you do, like, you have control over your life because things run at a certain schedule
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you're in a monogamous marriage, it's, even though it's possible, if you're ignoring something, if there's something that's not being addressed, somebody develops a resentment and they go off and cheat. If you are addressing everything, if you are really being honest and cleaning your room, so to speak, in the relationship, then you end up with a sense of security. There's a sense of security in the relationship.
Yeah.
And with polyamory, I think, or at least what I'm experiencing is a little bit of insecurity, of vulnerability, because you no longer maybe do things because out of obligation.
Out of the structure that you're talking about,
Right.
like the control and the safety
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, okay, I see it now
that-
because I kind of broke that a little bit today, didn't I?
yeah,
Like our schedule, like this train did not hit the station,
right,
right? So now the whole schedule is off.
right.
Well, that's pretty fun.
Fun?
Well, yeah, because Esther Perel, I always get her name wrong. She's my fave. But
Esther Perel.
Esther Perel, thank you. Um, uh, you know, she talks about stuff in the realm of um, stable relationships are boring.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The control, the
Yeah.
stability, all
Yeah.
of that stuff is super boring.
Yeah.
And then when somebody exciting comes into your life, like that's really exciting. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this boring shit. Right. You don't love me anymore because all the trains are running on time.
Right. Yeah. There's something to be said for if everything's running on time.
It's really boring.
Yeah.
And that's not sexy. It's not hot. It takes an enormous amount of work to bring that hotness in.
Yeah.
In a stable relationship because you're now married to stable.
Right.
You're not married to the hot that you used to have.
Yeah.
And you gotta adjust.
Yeah.
Or not and get divorced. Like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean that's still an adjustment. But so I said that seems fun because it's like now we're kind of throwing a monkey wrench into everything. So
Right.
things aren't as stable for you anymore.
Yeah. And that's
sweet. Does that mean it's hotter now?
It feels uncomfortable.
I don't know if there's a direct correlation there. It's like you make it a little bit more unstable and it's automatically more hot.
Well, I think that there's something to be said for, it, I think in the past I would have pouted and I probably would have pouted and tried to get you to go.
Right.
And you would have resented it.
Yeah.
And then then I would get resentful because I would want you to behave the way I want you to behave.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was like tonight I was like really conflicted because I wanted to be around you, but I wanted to go to my thing. And so
was it you wanted to be around me or you expected this train to be on time?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I enjoy getting to sit next to you and listening to the Dharma talk.
Okay.
I enjoy leaning up against you. I like that opportunity to lean up against you.
And just the presence, I would imagine.
Yeah. I enjoy your presence.
Oh,
and
I wanted to do this the whole time. I think if we would have got into like a resentment thing, I would have resolved it with ice cream.
Yeah.
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 Or whatever the yogurt place is
Yeah.
that we go to.
But instead, I just resolved my discomfort with licorice bites.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my.
I might usually do that on Sundays after refuge recovery, but since I didn't go to that today and we went to church, I did it tonight after Fierce Hearts. Usually.
Yeah, we didn't go to the gym either after church.
So yeah, I think in the past this would have gone very differently, and it was interesting because I actually went to a pretty dark place in my meditation. I started feeling pretty depressed.
Really?
And panicky and scared.
Wow.
and a whole bunch of things.
Look what happens when that train doesn't show up.
Right. But
it's rough, man.
But what I got to realize is that luckily on the way there I called a friend and she really needed to talk. And I called her because I just wanted to share with her that I was feeling down because you weren't coming, and she really needed to talk, and we had a good conversation.
Oh, that's good.
And it was a conversation that I don't think I would have normally called her on Sunday night. We would have talked tomorrow, but and then there was another friend that was at Fierce Hearts, and she and I got to talk afterwards, and so that was good, and I got to watch, myself go through this, go down this really dark hole and feel really depressed during the meditation and have some of my old thought patterns come up. And, when you're in that funky, down, depressed thought pattern, it can feel like you're never going to come out of it. And then to come out of it, and then we get to do the repair part of the process, sure. Which is the intimacy and the increasing intimacy and the connection and really digging into and understanding what happened.
Have I talked about the intimacy and vulnerability thing in here?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
I'm gonna, in case you haven't heard it, um, let's say vulnerability for relationships. I'm gonna say mainly for the feminine side of things, isn't like a couch. Like you buy it and you put it in your living room and you're done.
Uh-huh.
It's more like a drug.
Um,
I think that's how it works with us. It's like I can't just show up, or I can't rely on the fact that I was vulnerable last week, or I
right.
was
Yeah.
intimate last week, right? It's a thing I have to keep doing.
Right.
It's like I'm a drug dealer, and
Um,
there is a certain resistance that happens because of that safety, right? So you build up a tolerance to coke or whatever
okay.
your drug is, right? You kind of build up a tolerance to it. I think our relationship after 11 years, there's a tolerance. And so I kind of have to bring more and more. We had this conversation, this problem a while ago.
Yeah.
You came back from teas a week down south
Yeah.
at the tea place,
Yeah.
and whew, it was rough, man. You
Mm.
were like, "Mama needs another hit," and it's like she came back, and we call it a vulnerability hangover.
Yeah, I might have had a little one.
And
I might have been in denial about it, but I might have had a little bit of a vulnerability hangover.
that's so brave of you to admit.
Yeah.
Uh, and so there's the new relationship energy, and then she comes back to this shithole where it's all safe, and the trains run on time, and everything's boring, and I have to like kick it up a notch and get like multiple 8 balls lined up on the table of like intimacy and vulnerability. It's like I'd really
Oh,
bring the A game, man, to get things normalized and baseline, and make sure things are okay.
I don't think it's quite that bad,
I
but
think the drug metaphor is perfect.
I.
Because you were like doing speedballs of intimacy. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's a great metaphor. It's not like weed, like oh you smoke a joint, whatever. It's like this thing that you need to have, and when you have it, you feel really good. And if you don't have it, it's like the
Yeah.
empty shelf, man.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's
know
true.
when you don't have enough.
Yeah. Um, well, and I think that since I came back, we have had some really good conversations and had some more and
So this is hard for me because it's a lot of pressure to bring that stuff. I'm sure Philippe would be like a dealer in this case. Like he's a supplier, man. He deals in weight, intimacy weight. That's what that man deals in.
the
I'm
dog's chewing on a okay.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah.
She'll figure it out.
Okay.
I am not so much that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of pressure,
Okay.
and I can tell when I don't deliver.
Okay. That's okay.
Kind of off on a tangent. Maybe
No,
that's
but
something we need to talk about
well,
outside.
no, but there's,
People are just gonna watch these to see what Macy's doing.
yeah.
They're just gonna mute it and like watch the puppy butt move around.
Um,
Oh, there she
there
goes.
she goes. Now she's comfy. Hi, puppy. Um, that's
Well, is there an obligation from your end that I need to provide this?
um,
Because I remember like the conversations when you first came back were like pretty negative towards my side of the fence about how we're growing apart and this isn't working for you, kind of stuff. Not maybe not that dramatic, but it was like you better step up your A game, buddy, and give me some.
and that's something I need to be aware of and be
Okay.
mindful of. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and that we've been talking about, is like that part of myself that is coming to the surface that wants to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and trying to figure out that balance. I think it, it definitely bothers me to have you refer to intimacy as a drug.
Okay.
Because it, in my map of the world, that means that that's something that I'm doing something wrong, and there's a lot of judgment that comes along with that. But I also think this is actually a perfect example of, you know, I think we've talked about the attachment theory stuff. That tend to be the anxious attached, and I think you're more of the avoidant attached.
I think I'm secure attached.
Um,
I'm whatever the best is.
yeah, I think um,
Do you not agree?
I,
Whatever the best is. Listen to me.
I
what am I? Anxious?
avoidant attached.
Avoidant attached.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I can never keep these terms in my head.
So anxious attached tend to want to have lots of connection, lots of intimacy, lots of that. Avoidant attached tend to think that there's something wrong with the anxious attachers for needing that.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I've never thought there's anything wrong with you for that. Um, I just said that it puts a lot of pressure on me to kind of provide that for you. I did notice that there was sort of a penalty for creating an empty shelf. So the empty shelf thing is like, I don't know which book I heard this from, but like if you go into a guy's apartment, um, it might have an empty fridge, empty shelves, like very Spartan, very basic. Like my kind of apartment, if left to my own devices, be very very basic.
Mm-hmm.
TV, couch, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
A woman's apartment, just as an example, might be completely different. It's full of life, full of colors, full of stuff, maybe cluttered or messy, like organized for her, but like it's full of things. It's full of pictures and memories and all these things. And so when a woman walks into a guy's apartment and sees an empty shelf, like that could be a problem. Or if she has an empty shelf, like there's something that's supposed to be there. And so that's what I mean by empty shelf. It's perfectly okay for us to have that because we're okay with that. We have empty boxes in our head and stuff like that. But for a woman, that's a huge problem. Like that's a missing thing. There should be something there. So when I say empty shelf, like you came back from that vacation and it was like, didn't feel that connection to me. There was that empty shelf. There was something wrong.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. You needed to have that connection.
It was.
Or that's kind of what I intimated from that. You needed to have that. I didn't think there was anything wrong with you, but it was difficult.
I think it was going back to that piece about getting to be seen.
Okay.
Being, that of like a part of me, I got to feel an emotion, feel something that I hadn't felt for a long time.
Oh, the new relationship energy?
No, more of like I got to express parts of myself that I hadn't been able to express for a long time.
Okay.
In that book, More Than Two, it talks about, there's polyamorous relationships and then there's game changing relationships. Like there's relationships that are game changers.
Okay.
That it's like somebody who sees you in a way that you haven't been seen ever or in a long time. And once that's been seen, you can't, it's kind of like once you see something, you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happened. Is like I've had an experience. Once I've had that experience, you can't unhave the experience, and and it I'm definitely taking in that it takes a lot from you, a lot for you, and it puts a lot of pressure on you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be I'm going to do my best to be mindful of that in the future,
Okay.
because that's important to me. It matters to me that I don't. I was in all of the things I was trying to express. I was trying to express it in a way of to not make you wrong. Like I don't want you to be wrong because I'm feeling a particular way, or like that you um, yeah.
Okay.
Um, it's like I don't want to force you to fill that shelf, and at the same time, there's also the reality that once once you've felt something, you can't unfeel it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that any of this makes any sense, but
I think it might if I have a similar NRE kind of experience than with you,
yeah,
with someone else.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, but yeah, so tonight I think was, it was uncomfortable, but it was good. And, one of the things I was talking to a friend this week about, somebody who's polyamorous, we were talking about, you know, how do you focus on the good part, focusing on what are the good parts of our relationship? What are the things that are positive and how do we build on those?
Yeah.
And, I think doing the acro yoga and going to church was a good thing. I don't know if you want to go back to church or not, but
I miss the church in San Jose,
you miss the
but
churches.
yeah,
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 I'd definitely go do that again.
yeah. But it's interesting. Tonight was interesting, and I'm glad it happened because we got to have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that feeling of that sense of feeling incredibly vulnerable, of um, and I think there are different kinds of vulnerability. There are kinds of vulnerability that are like, oh fuck, I don't want to feel this. Excuse my language. There are types of vulnerability where it's like, oh god, I really, really, really don't want to feel this. And I think after I came back from the last trip, I was feeling really vulnerable because I was trying to say, there's this thing in me that I want you to see. Please don't reject it. And I wasn't, and so, and that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, I, it wasn't, and I feel a little bit of sadness that it felt like there was pressure created for you,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, but I was from my side. It was, please see me, please don't reject me.
Okay.
So yeah,
Cool.
you done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'll check out.
Yep. Okay. All right.
All right.
Good night.
Bye. Boop.